Hey, coming up on today's podcast, we're going to dive deep into the finale of Keith's RV trip that didn't happen. We're going to talk about the AirTags, how they can help you, a little product by Apple that can help you to an extent, and we're going to tell you why. How an automotive company out of India just got sued by Jeep, and we'll give you the outcome of that. We're going to talk about how bicyclists can go camping without an automobile. There are clever new ways to get out and have fun. And maybe a few more things involved with that. All of that right after this.
What the hell, man? There's a huge delay on my end. Carry on, Jay. I think we're good.
Holy cow, man. Whew. Man, something's kicking in. I don't know.
Technology be damned.
Technology, hey, we try hard. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. My sound guy, I got to have a word with him. He messed me up last weekend.
You can't get good help these days.
I'll
tell you what.
You cannot, man. Anyway, here we are. We're back in the podcast, guys. My friend Keith.
Clearly, I've been away too long, and I can't remember which buttons to push anymore.
It's okay, dude. I've been trying to figure my buttons out all morning, man.
There was about a 3-second delay from the time I brought the audio down until it actually went down.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Technology, man. I love it. We get into technology on this podcast, on our other podcast as well, which is the AI Chronicles. And you can go to our website at partscounterguru.com, or it could be the artist formerly known as at some point. We'll get down the road a little bit about that. Anyway, go to pcg.com and you can find right on the homepage, you'll see a link there to go to the AI Chronicles, where we take a deep dive into the world of artificial intelligence, not only just in the world of automotive, but everything. So, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Here, I'll put the website up on the screen there for anybody that... I do remember how to do that. I'm good, man. It's good to be back. How are you?
I'm fine, man. Still trying to dig out a little bit from the time away, get back into the rhythm. It's been fun, though. Growth, right? Word of the day, growth.
Yeah, I mean, they're good problems, right? Those are good problems. It's like good stress. As Coach Merritt from my elementary, as Coach Merritt's one of those guys that followed me throughout my formative years. So he started out as my first grade gym coach.
Really? And you can remember him?
Oh man, he's an unforgettable guy. I always will never forget him. But I think he even did my whole screening in kindergarten. But so he was my elementary school gym coach, and then I went into high school, and he was involved in high school football for a while. He later became the athletic director, I think was his title. I might be wrong on that, but he was overseeing basically all of my high school sports activities. And anyway, I got literally to spend 13 years with this guy. And there are guys that you don't want to spend that long with. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's just something magical about the community that I was exposed to and the people in the education system that chose to be there and loved what they were doing, at least most of the time.
Speaks volumes.
And, yeah, man, I don't
no
know
wonder
that
you
exists
turned
anymore.
No wonder you turned out okay.
Let's not get carried away. But I don't know that exists anymore. I really don't. I think
it's hard. Education has turned into a business and a political forum.
Or it's just, start trying to struggling to stay alive.
I mean, it's sad. I think people have forgotten what the education system is for. It is to prepare children to become quality adults within our society.
Yeah.
Not to babysit them. That's your job, mom and dad, not the teachers. That's a whole other podcast that we're not even involved in. So just saying. But I've raised 2 children, and I can tell you right now, they turned out okay. They were in public schools for, I don't know, probably the first 5 years, and then after that, they were special district. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And they were very very well taught. And then actually later on, when they later moved and relocated with their mom and stepfather, they did virtual schooling and did quite well with it. Both have gone on to get college degrees. I'm pretty proud of them. But it's an individual thing too, though, right? I mean, the kid has to have it in them.
Yeah, at some point you have to want to succeed. This is something that I and he doesn't listen to the podcast, so I talk about side shot, without fear of him catching me. But
right.
At some point you have to want it, and no amount of me pushing him to be his best if he's not willing to just do the work, man.
Right.
mean, Rocky at some point had to, fight Drago on his own. No amount of training could, he had to, anyway.
Yeah. Well, look, he's a good kid, but he's a kid. And that's the thing that I think people must realize, that you need to let children be children. Let them be kids. Let them have fun. Let them grow up in an environment where they don't have to deal with adult stuff until they're an adult, man.
Permission to succeed, with the understanding that falling down is not necessarily final. And it's ironic
Keith, that is you and I, that is kind of our mantra, right?
Yeah.
We tell everybody that, failure is not it's not the opposite of success. And in fact, you have to fail many times in order to succeed. So let that be a lesson right there. I just want to give a shout out to you today, my friend. And here's why.
Well, I was about to just solo your... Yeah, go ahead, man. Wait, no, maybe actually this might be the perfect time. Yes, continue, Jay.
Right. So, no, just in our minor little glitch in the beginning of this podcast, guys, I mean, you guys don't... I don't know if you're not a podcaster, you don't understand the amount of technology that goes into this. And some, if not all individuals involved, must be up on this stuff. And... you have no idea what Keith and I just went through prior to coming on air today. And I got to give you a shout out, Keith. Thank you so much for walking me through the problems, man. But we got through it, right? Teamwork.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not. I feel like this is true of you also. There are very few situations that you could put us in, even in a live scenario, where we may not get all of the tools or components. If something breaks, if a camera stops working, or you just reset. Maybe we don't go. Maybe we delay going live for 15 minutes and we switch to somebody's cell phone to stream instead. There's just not. Everybody, I know technology can be overwhelming. It is for me too, but if you just take a minute and just assess the situation, and I mean, man, there's plenty of content out there, and you and I know this because we're in the business, and we look at it and we go, man, what was that done on?
Right.
And true. You're gonna be fine, everybody. Yeah. We're gonna be fine. We're all gonna be fine.
Keith and I strive for perfection, and sometimes the mistakes make it fun. And we learn from it, no doubt about it. But very thankful for you being my business partner as well as my podcasting partner. So thanks very much for all of your help and getting us on air and keeping this keeping this wagon rolling, man.
Plus,
if you, will.
you keep talking, and it gave me time to adjust my camera. So
I know,
there you go.
I saw that. See, these are the behind the scene things that you guys don't get to see, but I get to see them, and it's a chemistry thing, man.
When I'm not, this is kind of a fun little for those of you that have been following us for a while. I'll give you a little behind the curtains here. And by the way, if you're not so let me just quickly mention. Jay already gave you the website, spartscountergurus.com. You can find all of our podcast links on. It's actually called Podcast Links. It's near the top. And whatever you like to listen to podcasts on, we're there. If podcasts are your thing, we're on Google Podcasts and Amazon Podcasts and Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and Spotify and on and on and on, right? And so you can find us there of your audio platform of choice. Video podcast now is available on YouTube. Some of you don't like long-form video podcasts, but YouTube thinks they're worth something, so it's there if you want to watch it. Anyway, I digress. So the tool that we use to do a lot of this, we can also live stream with. I can take myself off camera, but Jay can still see me because the camera is still rolling. It's just not part of the recording, so it's like a B angle that he has access to. Yeah. So sometimes I'll make hand gestures, and we'll have some fun with it. I'll count him in, whatever. So yeah, we have a little tool that lets us visually communicate with each other, which we've gotten almost. Jay, you remember that Star Trek episode where it was TNG? And there was an alien. There was a alien situation, and but they basically had to communicate without using words, and they were able to defeat their. Yeah,
I remember
nemesis.
that. Yeah,
because they kind of got to the point where they knew each other, and
right.
I sort of feel like we could be in that episode. What I was,
we could be. You know what was? It's interesting you say. Last night I saw an original series episode that I didn't recall through the first part of it, and then as I got towards the end of it, then I was like, oh, I just never saw the first part of that original series episode. It was the one where Spock had his brain stolen. He was the controller. Do you recall that one at all? It was interesting, man. It was very interesting.
Maybe not like it might be one of those where if I get about 3 minutes in, I'll be like, oh yeah.
I mean, his brain, they literally took his brain out of his body. So, but because he's a Vulcan, that can happen, and he can kind of still sustain under certain circumstances. And Bones was just beside himself, trying to figure out how to keep the man alive and stuff. And then they put this enhancer helmet on so that Bones could get the information to put the brain back in to Spock. And then in the middle of the scene where he's putting the brain back in, he starts forgetting how to do it. And then all of a sudden, Jim says, Bones, can you get his vocal cords working? Sure. So they wired his vocal cords up, and all of a sudden Spock says, now, Bones, Doc, whatever he called him. This is what you do, wire this to this, that, these nerve endings. And it was quite hilarious. But anyway, I love the original series. It still resonates with me, even to this day, as early on in my life that thing came out, that today it still just holds so much clout in.
It's because there was good creative writing.
Absolutely, man.
There's a quality element beyond production value, right?
Yeah.
And we've put so much stock in production value today that at times we lose. It's kind of the Jerry Bruckheimer effect. It's like, how many explosions can I pack into a movie? Well, that's fine, but if that's you're a one-trick pony, if that's your only thing, and then I mean, I would argue that's we got Ryan Gosling doing Roadhouse.
You hate that guy. You just hate that guy, don't you?
I do. And my wife wants to go see the Barbie movie, and I'm like, not, man.
What what I hate, man? This is it. I am so over this crap that they call this Barbenheimer weekend. I mean, don't do that. It's Blockbuster weekend. That's what it is. Blockbuster weekend, not Barbenheimer. I got to choose between Barbie and Oppenheimer, or you think I'm going to see Barbie? No, it ain't happening. But I will go see Oppenheimer. I want to see that one. That's a long one too, by the way.
I would watch Barbie with you and maybe a few of our choice friends. and stream it.
Stream it.
And offer our commentary for entertainment with some adult beverages if you wanted to, you know.
Okay, fans, people out there, if you want to see Keith and I seriously, because
we have some time coming up that probably would be streaming. Yeah.
Yes, and we have the technology to do this from inside the theater. Couldn't we do that?
We could just put it on a separate screen here and
just
we
could do a review.
Yeah, we could do it, Jay. We could put the screen up over there. Wait, over there, and you and I would be here. It's like Hollywood Squares, man.
Right.
Remember Hollywood? Yeah, it's like that.
Oh, I remember Hollywood Squares. Yeah. We need to get more people in here and have a virtual Hollywood Square game of our peers in the automotive industry. Could we do that?
It just gets, I'm
let's
all
have
about,
Marlon.
Let's have
Marlon.
Crazy, man. Yeah.
Marlon Young as the host, right? Because he's got such a great voice.
Yeah.
He's got more acting experience and on-air personality stuff than we do. So we'll get Marlon to be the host. We'll get about 4 of our we'll get Neil Chen on. We'll get the guys from Skinny Guy Campers on. We'll just have a Hollywood Squares.
This actually would be quite entertaining if we,
Okay. Leave us a comment, guys, if you want to see us do a virtual Hollywood Squares game on our podcast live. We can definitely pull that together. I think we've got enough friends and fans in the industry that would be a willing participant. So, in fact, speaking of Marlon, we need to get a hold of him because of the AI stuff going on. For those of you who don't know who Marlon Young is, Marlon played Rufus in Entourage, and he's been in many movies and Netflix series. In fact, last time I talked to him, he's working on some things right now, so he's so busy he couldn't be on right now, but I did promise him we'd ring him back and see if we can't book him on a show, and I think we ought to get him on the AI podcast. I really do. And then we'll talk about the effects that AI's had on the movie writing.
We might need to have a conversation around a forum for interfacing with our community, our followers, our fans. Meaning, some channels use Reddit, some people are using Discord, some people are using, that way it's sort of like a community. You have kind of direct interaction where you and I can go in and comment. I know you can leave the comments on YouTube, but not everybody that listens to us also watches YouTube. We have a podcast. So anyway, you got me thinking here, Jay. But anyway, I put the
we always do the same to each other, man. So you hit me up this morning on another idea, which is going to be fantastic. I can't wait. So I'm telling you guys, you got to pay close attention to what we're doing because we are going in many directions at the speed of light. And if you like what you see today, it's going to be even better the next time you see us. So there you go. Make sure you subscribe. Like, and comment. That's what helps us out.
I'm going to tease before we get rolling into the main entree. I was trying to make a food reference there. Main course.
Main course, yeah. Main course, yeah.
So this just occurred to me as kind of midway. Jay and I were talking, and I'm like, Jay, go back and listen to the previous 2 podcasts and tell me if this isn't a trilogy that just unfolded on this whole RV scenario. So coming up here in a few minutes, we're going to get into... I hope I can pass on some really, really helpful RV buying, RV maintenance with Jay's help, suggestions, recommendations, guidance. But I'm going to tell you what, there's a little bit of a horror story involved here. And, it's... At the very least, I hope it's entertaining and interesting, but hopefully there's some helpful content in there as well.
Right.
Yeah, man. It's been anyway. So
it's going to be fun. I can't wait to hear some new information because I've been kind of staying on top of it with you.
How fitting, by the way, to end this trilogy on our 150th podcast episode.
This is insane. 150. Yeah. Now, tell our friends out there, the average podcaster gets to what number?
I don't know, 20?
Maybe.
7?
If that. 7, I think is what it was. And we've got 150 in the books.
Never going to make it.
Right. Yeah.
Where's Dennis when you need him, man? I got to go
I
back and get
know,
some of
man.
those that we did from the 100th where he was like, I didn't.
We got
They
it.
were hilarious.
And shout out to Rothmeyer and Joe at the Union Tavern and all the folks at the Union Tavern here. My favorite hang. They're always very awesome to me anytime I go in there, but they were very kind to allow us. Our first live podcast was there, and then our 100th episode, or as Dennis would say, my 100th episode, of the Parts Counter Gurus. Funny stuff, and we'll roll some of that stuff back out for you guys. It's so funny, but 150 episodes. Wow, that's a milestone. That's something else, man. Now, if we had 150 million subscribers, I would be even happier.
Well, you guys can help us with that. Best things you can do don't cost you anything. Yeah.
In fact, you're going to get something free. You're going to get something free today. I'm telling you right now, guys.
What you talking about, Willie?
Free stuff, right? Everybody likes free stuff. Now, here's what you got to do, guys. Comment on this episode down in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, and tell me you want to have Keith, get back on screen, please, if you would. Bring yourself back in. See this fine hat? Now let's get come on, bring this close up. Other way. There you go. See that hat right there? They come in multiple colors, but we're going to choose one lucky person. We're going to give away a hat, okay? Otherwise, if you want the hats, you can shop online. If you want one today, they're, I think, $32 US? Is that right?
I think
32,
so. And if you want to see what they look like, all three of them are on our YouTube store or on our website at partscategory.com.
They are quality snapback.
I've become
hats.
a hat snob because of you. Like, I look at some of these hats and I'm like,
I
these
tell
are good
people
hats.
I have a problem. I have a problem. I get yelled at every time I walk back in from a brewery somewhere or something. So
the see-through translucent thing, that's because of our green screen. It's like a weatherman wearing a green tie.
Oh, but wait a minute.
It's filtering
that looks
the color
totally
up.
cool. You know what it looks like, though? It looks like it's metallic and it's reflecting. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it's not metallic. You go look at them on the YouTube shelf. It's called.
It's the color of the blue, the background logo you got back there. So there you go. Anyway, that we're going to give a hat away, but you got to comment down there and in the description or just where the comment section is and subscribe. We need subscriptions. Can we get a subscription? Can I get an amen? Oh, dear Lord. The Christian crowd's going to be mad at me now.
Okay, moving on.
All right. So back to what our steady level of progression is this. We need to get into the stories. Let's talk technology and how good it can be.
On screen.
Okay. You ready? Lead us off. You know what it is. You know what I'm talking about, Liz. You know what I'm talking about.
This is... I love... Okay, AirTags. Everybody know what AirTags are? Everybody knows what AirTags are, right? So Apple AirTags, I guess, here's your 20-second if you don't know. So Apple AirTags, these little disc-like, about the size of a quarter, and they make key fobs for them. You can put them in, I put them in backpacks. People frequently put them in their luggage. It's a great way to find your stuff, okay? And so, there are other brands, like I've used the Tiles, but Apple, just by the nature of every user with an iPhone becomes a search network for you if you lose your stuff. So they have the best coverage, and everybody knows about coverage from cell phones. So I love these AirTags, and if you want to see kind of an AirTag in use, go check out our channel. And I don't know the title of the video, but I snuck an AirTag into a box of merch, ironically, in the back of Jay's car. Didn't tell him.
Right.
And then Sideshot and I shot a little video on... Ultimately, we wanted to see if we could track Sideshot on an airplane, but I went ahead and put the AirTag in Jay's car first because, you need some good outtake B-reel content.
And it worked.
And, so anyway, we have an AirTag that a guy, and I do this, Jay. Like I actually have a tile on my Ducati, and so we have a guy that put an AirTag under his seat on his motorcycle, and I think that's brilliant. I've done the same thing.
This was in Chicago.
He's in Chicago, and his bike got stolen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now you got to be careful here. Like my stuff's insured, and not everything that gets stolen I want back. You know, like if they take that motorcycle or car or whatever on a joyride and completely trash it, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, there are some things that I just don't want back. You know, I'd rather just make an insurance claim and move on.
Right.
But I don't know what kind of motorcycle this was. I don't know what this, you know, I don't know any of those details. But the bottom line is he just wanted to know where his stuff was. Found his bike. Found the very location that it was. Told the police. And as the story goes, the police said, well, it's inside of a garage.
Right. It's not visible.
We can't see it, and so we have no authority to go get it. Now, this is one of those cases where I feel like our society has not caught up with technology. You know, and in particular in the United States, you know, we have Congress, we have all these privacy things going on right now with social, like Facebook.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And they're decades behind in their legislation. But they've tried to enact some things for protection. But the problem has become this dude. I mean, we know exactly where it is. I mean, what do you guys think? Like, should they be able to get a search warrant based on somebody's AirTag identification? I mean, to me, that's a pretty strong enough indication. I mean, these things are precise down to the...
Yeah.
I mean, to a couple feet.
I don't disagree with you. I think that the as technology comes into play more and more, they're going to have to restructure some of these laws and the rights that people have when it comes to this. I mean, if you know for certain that that's your bike, you know, here's the other thing too, though. Let's just say the guy found the AirTag and just kind of held on to it, but he's already sold the bike, and they come rushing in, and there's nothing there to take.
Well, that's a great. Okay, so let's play that scenario out, because that's a great thought. But that AirTag is still someone else's property.
This is true, and he can prove it because it is registered.
Is it a felony? I mean, I don't know what the bike was worth. I don't know what kind of a crime we're talking about here, but isn't that don't they call those things clues?
That's right. Yeah, it's a case. It's a case that could be open.
I mean,
yes.
I'm no Magnum PI here, but don't we have a scenario where we had two known things attached to each other? And I mean, I know we're not talking about a murder mystery,
right?
But if you found the dude's clothing and there was a disappearance, and that clothing was in a dumpster or a garbage can outside of somebody's house, couldn't you go and question the people whose house that is over how did you get this clothing? Right? You could absolutely do that, and it does happen. Now, I'm no attorney or law guru either, but I'm with you on that, Keith. That I think that there should definitely be some laws in place that would protect someone who has had something stolen and they found it. Now, here's the thing. In that same breath that this guy found it, the cops couldn't do anything, you had another scenario, and this is something that this is sort of a PSA, guys. Don't go rogue and go chasing these thieves down, because there was recently a 61-year-old woman who had her vehicle stolen, who had an AirTag in that, and she knew exactly where it was, and she ended up getting killed over that. And so that's where you want to get the law involved. Now, even if they can or cannot do anything, you should still at least file a report and go through the motions as if you have found it, definitely. And I think in this particular case, the guy should and could file a report. And I also do think that based on that AirTag's placement, where it's at, the fact that guy owns the AirTag, that should be cause for calling the judge up and saying, hey, we need a search warrant. At the very least here, Jay.
Yeah.
And I do completely, please don't try to go cowboy on this. Let the law enforcement folks do what they're paid to do. But trying to make lemonade out of this. Remember, everybody, failures are not final. Learn from, there's usually always a learning opportunity or an alternate ending, if you will, a side door.
Oh, most definitely.
So, how about, Jay, movie where didn't we have like The Eraser or Schwarzenegger back in the 90s where he was like helping people disappear? We got to have like the uneraser, like he helps recover, because we have all these little AirTag tracker type devices now. So maybe it's kind of like the A-Team, like if you can find them and if you convince them to take on your case, because they don't take on everybody's case, but if it's a good cause, right?
Right.
And then you have all this creative, how do we get these guys to open the garage door, right?
Right.
And you kind of MacGyver your way into, you don't break into their house, you make them break out.
Right.
Right?
I like it, man. All right, Marlon, you heard it here. We won't use AI to write this script. We'll get Marlon to write the script.
I'm just saying, like, there might be an opportunity here to write a little, but here's the one thing I'm sure of. If this movie gets made, or if there's a script, even just having the script written, I have one contractual stipulation. Ryan Gosling comes nowhere near this movie script. That's it.
I love it, man.
That's it.
I love it. This is a Ryan Gosling free zone, people, so just let that be known right now. We are, and if you want to find out why, you got to go listen to a previous podcast that we specifically get into.
Ryan there's Gosling. Several of them.
He's ruining Keith's life, and in fact, I think that's the name of the podcast. Ryan Gosling's ruining my life. So, anyway, is what it is on the AirTag here. Sometimes you have to use your technology and understand some of the things that you're up against. But if it can help you, if it's out in open space, then that's a different animal. So, there you go. We're going to shift from technology to competition or infringement. When you say infringement, this would be an infringement, right?
Yeah, we're getting kind of legal on this episode, but yeah.
Ooh, no intention there, was it? I don't think we intended to do that, but it's kind of how it came out.
Yeah.
Ooh, oh man. Yes, stay tuned for the RV segment also. Anyway, do you know who Mahindra is?
Like, just from talking to you and researching this story, but outside of that, not really. I'd never heard of them before you put this in front of me.
Right. So Mahindra is a company based out of India.
I mean, if I had to Disney villain, if I had Mahindra on a game show and didn't know, but
Lion King. Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Something like that. Anyway, no, Mahindra is they're a manufacturer of they have an automotive sector, they have a off-road sector, they have tractors. There's Mahindra tractors are big in this country now.
Do you happen to know where are they? Are they a North American company?
Do
they have a huge presence in North America?
They have a huge presence in North America. Mahindra's a very. Do you remember Tony Bates Ford out of Lebanon, Tennessee? He's the guy that says it. Tony Bates Ford. Well, we'll trade for anything it don't eat. That guy, right? You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So they're
I got it.
Yeah.
Mahindra and Mahindra Limited is an Indian multinational automotive manufacturing corporation headquartered in Mumbai. But they have a major. It was established in 1945 as Mahindra and Muhammad, and later renamed as Mahindra and Mahindra. Well, that's not confusing.
Yeah.
Part of the Mahindra Group. How many times can I say Mahindra?
Keep saying
M&M is one of the largest vehicle manufacturers by production in India.
I thought he was a rapper. You just said M&M, right?
Yeah, right. You got me on the wrong sound drops screen, Jay. Anyway, they do have a major North American presence, and please continue. I digress.
Yeah, they make a number of pieces of equipment, tractors, earth moving, stuff like that. So they are a large competitor to your Caterpillars, John Deere's, et cetera, stuff like that. They do small stuff too. So does John Deere. They do small stuff as well. But they get into more or less. They've developed off-roading type vehicles for let's say farms, ranches, et cetera, stuff like Polaris, that sort of stuff. Razors and stuff, right? So Mahindra decides to develop a small off-road type vehicle called the Roxor that kind of looks like Jeep. And it's a small diesel engine. It's worthy, but it is not cleared to be sold for driving on highway, only off-road at this present time. And I think that's probably how it's going to have to stay. But they were recently challenged by FCA, which has become Stellantis. That's Fiat, Chrysler, now Stellantis, who owns all of them. But they were sued by them because of the appearance, as it looks significantly like the old Willys Jeep. And so the Jeep Wrangler brand really kind of got upset with them about it, and they had to halt or cease and desist making the original version of this, which looked exactly like the Jeep on the front end and the grille with the teeth, the long teeth and all that sort of stuff. But they have since changed to what you see on screen right now. If you're watching the video podcast, if you're not, make sure you go over to youtube.com/Parts Kind of Gurus to check this out if you want to see the imagery. But they made it's sort of an oval front end now, or grille, if you will. But it still retains all of the other cosmetics that kind of appear to be like a Jeep Wrangler, early Willys Jeep, if you will.
It really looks to me like a combination of like a Jeep, like an
old Willys.
But it's really, if you look at who they're appealing to, it's the side-by-side crowd. It's the farm ranch crowd.
That's what I'm saying,
you said, these are not... They're off-road only. Now,
right.
Here's the thing. You can take a side-by-side and put license plates on it and make it street legal. You have to have turn signals. You have to have side mirrors. You have to have a backup mirror. You have to have a windscreen. You have to have various things, right?
Right.
And there are exceptions in most states in the United States where you can go through that process and make it street legal. And this is true of any vehicle that's motorized. And as long as you meet those requirements, you can put a license plate on it. Now, this is a top speed of 55 miles per hour, so it might be classified as an LSV, a low speed vehicle. You can't put it on the highway, stuff like that. But it does really look to me like they're trying to appeal to the side-by-side crowd, meaning they're not marketing this as a car you can drive around.
No. It's specifically marketed that it is a targeted market. As you see in the marketing material that they have on their website. The other thing about this too, now this thing is it's quite worthy actually. I mean it's a 2.5 liter diesel. It's got 62 horsepower, 144 pound-feet of torque, and has a 5-speed manual transmission. So it's handy around the farm or the ranch, if you will. And it has a towing capacity of nearly 3,500 pounds, which is not bad for a unit that size.
Really nice, yeah.
And it starts at about $21,000. So, I mean, that is an alternative to a lot of the... Here's where the product itself is a win for Mahindra, is that it is appealing in a number of ways by its ability. It's a purpose-built vehicle. It's light enough weight that it gets decent, mileage, if that's your thing. I mean, that's not what people are buying these things for, but that factors into your budget overall. If you are a rancher or a farmer, you have to budget for fuel costs and stuff when you're handling your product or your property. So it's good. It's a
neither
good deal.
one of us are going to know this, but every time you say the word farm and ranch, I think about their farm equipment. They use a different kind of diesel,
yes,
right? Typically the large John Deeres and all that, right? And I wonder if these are capable of running on that farm diesel.
I think that if they are Now it depends because it's a specific class. It's considered off-road, and I don't know how far the EPA has gotten into the off-road diesels.
Well, so is a farm tractor. Farm tractor is
Right.
off-road, right?
Right. That's true. So yes, if that's the case, then they would fall under that category, and they would have to run on that fuel if they were sold in the U.S. So there are still EPA requirements that would mandate that. So I can see that happening. So the other thing too here is, guys, is that let's get to the point here, which is Mahindra went up against Stellantis, who is probably a much larger and has much deeper pockets than Mahindra and Mahindra, or as Keith likes to call them, M&M, and not the rapper. They won this case. There was a judge that basically ruled against Stellantis in this particular case, stating that they had made enough changes to the product that they did not have to cease and desist on 2020 and later. Now, they were producing these things since 2018. So the 2018, 2019 models, if you were lucky enough to get one of those, they can't make that version anymore. So just an FYI out there, if you want like a little mini Jeep lookalike, right down to the grill, go try to find yourself a 2018, 2019 Mahindra Roxor.
And it's made in, well, here, I'll show you the wiki page. It's made in Auburn, Michigan, so right outside of Detroit.
Yeah.
And this is the older model that Jay's talking about here. You can see the picture of it, where it does look a little bit more like...
Looks like a Wrangler.
The Wrangler.
Yeah, it looks like a 70s, late 70s, early 80s Wrangler to me.
Other than it being a turbo diesel, I'm not seeing specifically what kind of diesel. So that question remains. If anybody knows, leave us a comment. But yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so there you go. Congratulations to Mahindra on standing up against the big guys and winning. You know, sometimes the little guy wins. So there you go.
Yeah.
And in this case, they did. So happy for you, Mahindra. Keep on selling stuff. That's what we're all about here, right?
Yeah. Speaking of which, another way you can support the show is we've got a. Can I go ahead and tease this one, Jay?
It's kind of where I'm going, man.
So we got. I know. I saw your eyes move in that direction. Back to our Star Trek reference earlier. So we have some new brand partners coming on, and we're pretty excited about this for a lot of reasons. We are very careful to. Let me just be honest with you guys. Like, not that I'm not always on. Why do people say that? Okay, here. Let me just be a little bit more revealing. Maybe that's the better way to say it.
I like the way you put that, man. Very.
Jay and I will go look at product for brand partnerships, and a lot of these are in video reviews. And if the product is junk, we will scrap it. I don't think either of us are comfortable with a product that's just garbage, because we're not going to put our name behind it. So there are things that we've talked about in the past. There are roads that we've gone down, and they just never panned out for various reasons. But if they make it to a video content, they're decent products. And we've got, in particular, an e-bike manufacturer, I think, that we are both very excited about for a lot of reasons. That has become a brand partner of ours, and we are not quite ready to tell you who that is yet. But as we are starting to release more Overland content, especially in the remainder of this year, that's going to fit in nicely with some of the things that we are going to release. So make sure you're subscribed.
Absolutely, and fingers crossed. I will hopefully have one to.
You'll have something.
And we've got some fun things coming up in the last quarter of this year from the fruits of our labor. So we shall see how that goes down. So yes, definitely. What about our other partner? You want to mention those guys right now?
Go right ahead. I mean, the box
so,
is open.
Right. So the parent company is Modus Brands, but they cover the gamut. They've two of their brands. Discount Ramps was one that we don't do much with, but raceramps.com as well as blackwidowpro.com. You can go to our YouTube channel over at youtube.com/Parts Counter Guru. If you're not watching this already, if you're listening, go to youtube.com/Parts Counter Gurus. And we've got several demo videos on. Keith did a fantastic one on motorcycle flat stoppers from Black Widow Pro. Was that from? Yeah, that was from Black Widow Pro, right?
That is correct.
That is correct. And then you just completed a video on a dual motorcycle dirt bike hauler that is it's not a trailer. It's a hitch mount, aluminum mounted material. It's very durable, and Keith demonstrates how easy it is to put together and install, as well as how easy it is on your own by yourself if you have to be to get those bikes up on that. I was very impressed with how easy you were able to get that up there on your own.
The lack of noise and grunting coming out of me.
Right. Now, here's the thing. Keith and I are not saying do this by yourself. By all means, if you have other bodies around you to help you get those up there, please do.
It depends on the bike. It depends on what you're putting back there.
Exactly.
So the idea is, if you don't want to deal with a full trailer, you don't have a trailer, or you don't need a trailer, you don't have a place to keep a trailer, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
This is a great alternative if you do any riding. You can do single, double, whatever. You can fit several bikes on there. Think about bikes that have wider tires than a traditional bicycle. And just to sweeten the pot, we have a couple discount codes that you can use anywhere on blackwidowpro.com, or what's the other one, Jay?
Raceramps.com. And to speak to that, I did the Cribs video as well.
There you go.
That's on our YouTube channel as well. So
that's more for the car side, for the four-wheeled enthusiast.
That's correct. Yeah.
So what's the code? Let's give that one out first. So if you're in the market for anything in your shop for automobile or truck related,
right, go to we've got links in those videos, and grab those links, and those codes will work on anything on their website, man. Not just the product itself that we've demoed, but the codes will work there. But the code for Race Ramps is just straight out Guru, GURU, and it's a significant.
It'll get you 15%
significant
off.
savings on anything on your entire order. So go shop and be happy.
And then blackwidowpro.com is it's basically the same. It's Guru 15, so GURU15, and that'll also get you 15%. And that's on blackwidowpro.com.
Yep. And so if you go shop over there, you can thank those guys for that discount, and they are an official brand partner of the Parts Counter Gurus and the Counter Show here. And thank you so much for shopping with them. But when you use our links and our codes, obviously that helps us out too. So there you go. Thanks to those guys. And again, stay tuned for our reveal of who that e-bike is, and we're going to have some special things happening there as well. So if you're in the market for an e-bike, you're going to want to stay tuned. So there you go.
So speaking of e-bikes, we have a growing trend here. Now, this started in Europe. I predict that it will be here in the United States. It's already kind of here in the United States, but it's going to be a growing trend. And our track record of predictions is pretty good, everybody. So don't take my word for it now, but if you come back around in 6 months, I'm going to tell you I told you so. So we have a company. There are several companies doing this, but bicycle campers are becoming a thing. And so what this kind of means is, think about like a little fold-down trailer. Okay, so visualize for me. Has everybody seen the little kiddie wagons that you hook up to your bicycle? You can buy them at like the department stores, and you put like your toddler in the back, and you put the cover over it, and it keeps the like debris from flying on them, but it's vented on the sides. You guys get the picture, right? It's 3 feet, 3.5 feet tall, a couple wheels, kind of like a wagon. It's that same footprint, except they are putting fold-down campers, tent campers, in there.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so here's where this gets really cool. And I mean, I don't know if, well, here, I can show everybody the article, but I don't know if they go into this too much in the article. But if you think about e-bikes, Jay, and you think about the fact that, and one of the reasons that I got an e-bike initially was because I was going through some physical limitations that I didn't have the strength that I at one time had. Now it's all come back and I'm doing better, but that e-bike will do the work for you. You still have to pedal in some cases. In some cases it's throttle. But you can carry more of a load, and a lot of these e-bikes without a load have a 100-mile range. So if you're going 20 miles on a bike trail, you can take this to a campsite, to a remote campsite, like our friend Rothmeyer would do, and you're in good shape, man. You don't have to pack it in. And we're starting to see more of these e-bikes that have that are made for transport, that have a little bit of a wagon on the back. Some of them are three-wheeled. They're pretty cool. And you know, I keep joking that we're going to end up shooting a product review where we stuff a beer keg on the back of one just to see how it'll do.
Right.
Because that's some weight. But, yeah, so here we're looking at what they call the turtle, and you can see it's kind of a, you know, it folds up and out. But, you know, and they've got what looks like some Helinox chairs in there, which, by the way, is also a brand partner of ours. I mean, that's fairly spacious for two people.
It is, and the price of these things, though, this is where they've got to figure out, and it might be why you're not seeing them sold in the U.S. at the present time, is because they are not cheap. But you're looking at almost 3,500 euros, which is going to equate to, I did the math on that, nearly 3,900 US dollars for that particular unit that we're talking about. Now, that's in line with an iCamper, roof nest, any of those rooftop type campers that you see on vehicles. So I can see how the cost could get to that point because of the fact that it's an all-inclusive trailer, the unit itself. Some of these things come with fridges, solar panels to power those things. So, you know, I bet you Dometic's involved, and many of the other ones.
You also then have a way to charge your e-bike back up. So it's a perpetual system.
That's
right?
exactly right, and that's the point I was trying to make with the solar panels. Is the fact, so they have all these things that this is what it makes it so appealing to the e-bike market and anybody who is a camping enthusiast. They got e-bikes out there that will go anywhere, that have a great range, that basically take all the work out of it. These things are not that heavy, so the load on the e-bike itself is not going to be that big of a deal. But they're very well done. They're very well outfitted for comfort and the basics. Obviously, they're waterproof. They come with screen windows, with the mosquito guards and all that sort of stuff on it. So I could see this becoming a bigger thing in the U.S. very, very soon. Now, if you go to Amazon.com, which, by the way,
wait a second. Hold up.
Yeah.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Go to our website at partscountergurus.com. Click on the Amazon link.
There you go.
Give us the affiliate credit. Doesn't cost you any more. And then Jay, and then
you can go in and shop around for, just go bicycle, bike camping, and you'll find trailers that are purpose built for all types of bikes that you can basically pile a tent into it. But it's a standalone tent. It's not an all-inclusive unit like these are, which we're discussing today. These are just it's basically a trailer for your bike to just put, large amounts of stuff that you would otherwise have to carry on your back. This, you're taking it off your back and you put it in your trailer and moving along up the hill, down by the river, wherever you need to go. And no, if you're down by the river, by the way, just be careful of white vans down by the river. Just saying. That's the thing I have. I'm scared of white vans and rabbits. Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, so there you have it. Camping is not just for the
we're gonna put some overland content out this year, guys. So just please tell your friends. Leave us a good review on the podcast side. Make sure you're subscribed on the video side, and you shall receive when that information comes out.
Absolutely. Now, Keith, the moment we've all been waiting for. Is there a drum roll in there somewhere? Or?
I mean, I could, yeah, but I don't know that it's. Yeah. Anyway,
okay.
So I love the RV lifestyle. For those of you that are longtime listeners, you already know that. For those of you that are new to the show, we frequently do a lot of RV stuff, but I use it for work. Like we'll go out and travel. Jay and I will do stuff. I'll take it out. We'll use it as almost a little mini production studio, you know. And I like, you know, I'm gonna Crystal Gale this. I think I was COVID before COVID was cool. Meaning, you know, I was out doing the remote thing in an RV in some really great places before other people realized that they could also do that.
You were essentially built for the pandemic, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And in fact, one of our fondest memories was in Big Bend National Park, right? Like we were there when they closed the border to Mexico, and because it's in Texas, and had a breakdown in my previous motorhome, which was on a Ford chassis, which was a Thor Outlaw, was a toy hauler.
Breakdown.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do it.
And I could see the Ford dealer about a quarter mile down the street, and still had to get one of the big wreckers to tow me over and all that. So
that's the way it works. But I can see it right there. Does that
yeah?
not like
I mean,
give
the
me a
dude
discount? I can see
the
it,
tech
man.
came over in his Escort and brought his tool bag, and then they were like, "Nah, you're gonna have to bring it over."
Tour in.
So I bought a new one. And I mean new, it was actually used. When I say new. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Right now is really not a good time, in my opinion, to go buy a new RV. There's still a ton of quality issues. The costs are out of control. Interest rates, if you're going to finance, are just off the chart. It's a tremendous expense. There's a huge amount of you're just going to take a huge hit on a depreciation, like just really bad. And so I did have a new one on order, but we just decided a year in, and I still didn't have delivery of it, that we were going to look in another direction. So what I ended up getting, for a couple reasons, I've always wanted an air ride. I loved our Thor Outlaw, but the build quality, I did a lot of repair on it, and that Ford chassis is awesome. It does a great job, but boy, it rides rough. And we did some things to help with that, but it's still not an air ride. So I wanted an air ride. I chose a 2008 Newmar All-Star. And one of the reasons, there's a lot of reasons that I did, but one of the reasons is it was pre-DEF, right? So this was, it doesn't require the diesel exhaust fluid, and it only had 47,000 miles on it. And I bought it from a broker. Now, if you're not familiar with how brokers work, Jay, basically, and I used a broker to sell our last one. I could go out and I could put it on RV Trader or Craigslist or YouTube or YouTube. Yeah, guys do that, or eBay Motors or something like that. But the search engine mastery that a lot of these brokers have, you're going to get a lot more eyeballs on it, right? And how that works is they typically get a commission, so they're just basically a paid salesperson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can build all that into the cost. And anyway, bought it from a broker in Oklahoma City. This is a picture of it, and as luck would have it, and I just did an internet search, this is actually mine. Like, there aren't too many of these left. So the one I'm going to show you is actually a picture of mine before I bought it.
Oh, this is the actual. Okay.
This is the actual one. So again, this is a 2008 Newmar All-Star. It's a toy hauler platform. Now, this particular one is not a toy hauler.
We're putting the band back together, man.
What they did is they put an upstairs, downstairs in the back garage area instead of the garage, but they built it on the toy hauler platform. So it doesn't have a tag axle. It's got a single axle, which most of the toy haulers do, which I like. And, man, the thing was just so well maintained. Like, the guy went and spent over $100,000 on renovations. He put a new roof on, which I'm a huge fan of. It's not a membrane roof. It's a solid roof. It's amazing. Like, there's almost no maintenance you have to do to it.
One of the things you said that it had on the solar panels, right?
It's got the same 3 solar panels that Jay and I put on my last unit. It's got an amazing charge controller. He put Battleborn lithium lipo batteries in it. I mean, he went in, he put all new furniture in it, all new upholstery, all floors, like just he did it up. And honestly, it was kind of dumb. Like he spent that much money on something that you're never going to see that money back in.
Right.
But I saw it. I kind of know RVs. I jumped on it. And so what ended up happening, and of course Murphy had his way. I got in. I did drive it before. I heard the turbo not quite right, but this is a Cummins diesel. It had 47,000 miles on it. Jay and I talked many times about this. I knew there was going to be an expense probably in an engine repair, but like how bad could it be, man? This thing had less than 50,000 miles on it, right?
Right.
How wrong could I be?
Yeah. And it's good. And as you said, Murphy, not working.
Yep.
Not working in your favor at all here, but when we talked about it, I told you about how, those engines are good. I mean, and that's nothing. The amount of mileage that you had on that engine when you purchased it is insignificant in the scheme of things. Nothing.
Yep.
Barely broken in, right?
Right.
So, anyway.
Here's one that does have the toy hauler. You can see looks like 2 Harleys there in the garage, and so that gives you an idea of kind of what they look like. So now this is not a diesel pusher; it's a mid-engine diesel,
right?
Which is a rare thing, and man, it rides so great because of that. Like
weight distribution. Yeah, absolutely, man.
So I drove it home about 800 miles to Nashville, and I got it into the Cummins shop, and I told them what was going on, and so the first thing that I want to tell you guys, and this is the kind of learning point number 1. This is on a Spartan chassis. Now, I did my homework. I called around. I made sure that there was a certified repair center in my area. There is, that works on the Spartan chassis. I called him up. I went, hey, I'm looking at buying a Spartan chassis motorhome. Oh, yeah, all day we work on those, right? So I call him up, and the guy's like, how's August hit you? And I'm like, well, that's 3 months from now. And he went, yeah, we're backed up. So what I did not ask them was how backed up they were. So please take my advice on that, number 1. Because what I am finding in the repair industry, so this has been true in the RV industry for a long time, is the wait to get these things repaired is sometimes half a year.
Yeah.
In fact, the Spartan factory in Michigan, it is this fall. It is 6 months out. Now you expect that on the. Okay, so let me clarify. You expect that on the living space. Like if you call Camping World or whatever, yeah, I expect that. But a lot of the stuff that I can do that, I like doing that. A lot of the RV stuff's not that hard.
Right.
If you got to fix a water heater or you got to fix one of their like lifts or one of their motors that takes the slides out, like that stuff I'm comfortable taking on. I didn't think that the drivetrain would be an issue. I mean, right? It's a Cummins. Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
But it is, in fact, an issue.
Based on the information you had, it was well maintained.
Yeah.
I
know
there
it
was.
was.
There was no visible signs of any issues or anything to that effect.
It was immaculate, man.
Not a leaker, nothing like that. Just was ready to go. You were excited. I remember it specifically about how much fun you were having driving that thing home.
Yep.
So
pulled it into Nashville. It overheated. Immediately got Cummins involved. Took it up to them. Turned out to be a cooling fan, and there was a hose boost leak on the turbo.
Right.
So they didn't want to work on the turbo fan. They complained about it because it was a Spartan chassis. I begged them to do it. I had to order the parts from Spartan, and they fixed it up, and I took it home, and it seemed seemingly fine. So we planned the summer camping trip out west. We were going to start in New Mexico. And for the first 2 days, everything was great. Now, I was towing my car hauler trailer. This thing will tow up to 8,000 pounds. No issues there. Get to Oklahoma City, which ironically is where I bought this thing. Pulling off of Garth Brooks Boulevard in Yukon. And
You got friends in low places, pal.
Yeah, man. I get check engine lights. I see the temps start to spike, and it gets bad. And so now we're in a situation where we're in road construction, we're in slow stop and go traffic, and the last thing I want is to have to pull an RV off on the side of the road on a busy, it's I-40, and sit there, because that's super dangerous. You know, once I stop it, I may not get it going again. So we were able to limp down the road a bit. I got to an RV park. We set up camp, and I got it over that weekend into a place called Rush's Truck Centers, which I later learned is great, and they have about 200 locations nationwide.
Nationwide, yeah.
And they specialize in big rig repairs. And it turns out that there were some pretty serious issues, to the extent that the head gasket blew, that I am having to replace the entire head gasket. I am now looking at about a third of the cost. I mean, it's a $30,000 estimated repair job.
Yeah.
On top of the $7,000 that I already paid Cummins in Nashville to do their repair. And I have a suspicion, and I can't prove this, but I have a suspicion that this was coming, and the guy sold it because he saw it coming and tried to hide it.
Right.
And that suspicion is not without any evidence, because he went through great strides to redact his name and information, Alan Wolf, from all the sales details. It wasn't hard to find you, bro. I have to wonder why someone would go through those links to hide their info, right? Like, you sell a car, your name's going to be on the title. They're going to know. What do you got to hide? So that should have been my first clue. Now, I think this is still going to be somewhat of a rare case, but if you're going to buy a vehicle without a warranty, and here's another aspect. So, Jay, you might ask me, like, well, why didn't you just buy the extended warranty?
Well, Keith, why didn't you just buy the extended warranty?
It's funny that you would ask that. A lot of times the extended warranty doesn't cover engine maintenance. It might cover drivetrain, transmission.
Right.
Okay. A lot of the RV extended warranties will cover the living space, meaning it's the low-cost stuff. It's the stuff that I said just 5 minutes ago that I don't mind fixing. You know, if there's a leak in the shower, if there's a plumbing leak, if your furnace stops working, if your air conditioner stops working, those are typically things, the rooftop air conditioner, that an RV extended warranty would cover, but they did not. There was nothing. And this is advice piece, I guess, number 3. If you're going to consider an extended warranty of any flavor, call the dealership before you go into close and ask to see a copy of that. They won't like it. They like handing you that paperwork while they're staring at you and trying to sell it to you. Do your homework in advance. If it's worth spending money on, ask them to see a copy of it a couple days ahead of time. They'll send it to you. They're not going to like it, but they'll send it to you. And so that was the case here. There wasn't anything that this would have covered. The other thing is, I did pay an inspector, and I am a huge fan of RV inspectors, especially if you can't be in the city that, where this thing is. And the guy did a thorough job, and he did find quite a bit of things that, even in one that was in this good a shape, that saved me some money. For example, the tires were in great shape, but they were aged out. They were older than the National Highway Safety Transportation recommendation.
And why is that important to understand?
Well, on a drivable RV, yeah, that's a life.
Because of dry rot, those sorts of things are not. Most people don't think of that. Age is a big deal when it comes to products like that.
A blowout in a motorhome is
not a fun
could die.
thing.
Yeah, and so I got a price concession. I drove it off the lot, and within 24 hours, I had new steering tires, front tires on it. Okay.
Right.
But other than the things that I knew about, I'm not sure that having a mechanic go and take a look at this would have done me any good, because, like I said, it's a mid-engine. They're buried inside the coach. I mean, there's a limit to how much time they're going to spend checking over something. Do you want to pay somebody for 8 hours of work? I mean, you're talking in the thousands of dollars to just inspect. Is it worth it? Maybe.
Right.
But like I said, with less than 50,000 miles on a diesel engine, I mean, how bad? These things are built to go a million miles. I mean, how bad could it be, right?
Absolutely.
So I think in this case, there was a little bit of a notorious issue with this year engine that Cummins produced, as Jay has told me.
Yeah.
What would I have done differently? I mean, so our summer camping trip ended up getting canceled, and today that RV is still sitting in the truck center in Oklahoma, and they are they've jacked it up. They dropped the engine. They're doing a complete top end rebuild on it.
Yeah, fresh loaded casting from Cummins. They're doing all the right things. They're checking all the right boxes for this. That was some of the conversations that Keith and I were having behind the scenes. What are they going to be putting in it?
Yep.
OEM, aftermarket. And we're not opposed to aftermarket product. Keith and I were in the aftermarket. I mean, we've sold sold product for a very large valve train component supplier, both of us. So we have nothing but the utmost respect for these guys and the fact that the integrity that they put forth doing this repair is just amazing. I was really happy to hear that you fell. For every bad thing that happens, man, there's some good that comes out of it.
Sure.
Them being the ones that you fell into their lap, basically, if you will.
Yeah.
But you and I both, through this whole process, have learned some valuable lessons.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm never done learning. And by the way, there might be a pet story involved in this too. We'll get to that in a minute. But so this is one more picture of it, Jay. This is that one big slide out on the side, and it only has one slide out, and that's what it looks like. So in terms of passing on information that could potentially help other people to not go down this road, I would say, number one, consider the age and just assume that it's going to be an expensive repair. And I told my wife, look, I am comfortable knowing what we paid for this and knowing even with the cost involved, it's still a good buy because it's got a brand new roof on it. He completely renovated the entire inside. It is brand new. He literally went and bought the nicest leather upholstery in the current model year Newmar. He said he took it to Lazy Days in Tampa and said, retrofit it with everything in the new model year. Did that a couple years ago. So I felt like even though there is an expense, it was still a good purchase. Okay. But everybody, you need to factor that in. If you're buying something that's 10 years old, even if the guy selling it to you tells you it's amazing, it's 10 years old. Rubber wears out, gaskets break down, seals wear out.
Right.
And you better expect that there's going to be some repair bills very soon in the future. So that's the first thing that I learned. The other thing that I learned, and this is kind of a bummer, is you need to make a relationship with a repair center close to you because, unfortunately, these shops have gotten in the habit of refusing to work on things that are over a certain age.
Right.
I had a very real conversation with a service writer that called me up, and he said, it is not uncommon that I have to talk to people and tell them, I'm sorry, I know you just bought it or you got it not too long ago. It's just not worth working on. And now you're stuck with basically a lot of these people finance their stuff. I'm paying for something that I can't even use.
Right. Right.
And he said, in this case, it's in really good shape. We're willing to take the job on. I was nervous. But that is not always the case. There are dealers here that sell these Newmars, that sell the Integras, that sell the higher end motorhomes, the Tiffins, and so on. And if they're over 10 years old, that dealer, even if they're certified, even if they're on the list, if you go look up the National Repair Centers list, they won't touch it. They'll just refuse it.
Yep.
And that's unfortunate because a lot of these things are between $300,000 and $500,000, and they're not throwaway items.
No.
But that's the time that we live in. So you need to make sure that you are very clear with a repair shop. Call them up. Hey, I am thinking about buying a 2015 Tiffin Phaeton, whatever it is. Will you work on it?
Right.
Will you?
Will you work on
Be
it? That's
very
it.
specific.
Exactly. I mean, that right there, I think, in a nutshell, for you, would have probably swayed your decision on in a different direction.
Or at the very least, I would have said, "Hey, guy, there's not a lot of people that'll work on this thing. I'm not going to touch it. And
Right.
if you really want to sell it, you're going to have to make it worth my while.
Yep.
Come down."
Not only, those are some great points and great advice for anybody going out to purchase a used RV or a new RV. Definitely. The other thing too, though, is to do your homework on finding out what the propulsion system, whatever it is, whether it be a Ford engine or a Cummins diesel, what are some of the inherent problems that they are known for? And I do believe in this particular case, Keith, had you gotten the person to do a thorough engine test on it, maybe ask them, are they known for blowing head gaskets? Yes, they are. Well, what can we do to confirm whether or not we have a problem just waiting to happen? And it is quite possible that a compression test or a pressure test may have been able to detect a slight enough leak. And so you got to understand, when Keith got it under load out on the highway, the playing field changes at that point. When you're driving back from picking it up and it's under its
empty.
own load, right?
Yep.
You don't have a fridge full of food. You don't have pots and pans in it. You don't have clothing in it. You don't have bedding in it.
Water in the
100
100 gallons of water.
Of those, right? All those things. You're not towing a vehicle behind. So I believe that this is and I said this to Keith because I've worked in the service industry a lot of my life, and I said that sometimes, I hate to tell you this, things are coincidental. But after understanding the backstory that I got from Keith and him telling me, I do believe that the red flags that Keith saw after the fact were enough to warrant investigating the fact that there was something that this person was definitely aware of, and that's probably why he was getting rid of it.
I didn't listen to my gut. And see, when you get into a new purchase and you're excited about it, and this guy was being super secretive about his identity.
Yeah. He was putting lipstick on a pig, man.
But
lipstick on a pig is what he was doing.
Did you just call my RV a pig?
No, you get my analogy there, though, right?
Yeah,
you put lipstick on it, and it's the same way. Look, Keith will attest to this. Buying an RV this size, a motorhome this size, this is a home purchase, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, that is exactly what it is.
They are, and in fact, insurance, if you finance, all the parties involved treat it like a home purchase.
Right.
There's a closing.
Right.
Insurance is it's fun. You can, just like you can a home, I don't think you can do this to a car. Like, I had them add extra insurance value because they were going to go look at the NADA, and I'm like, but wait a minute, it's been completely renovated. And they went, okay, well, how much do you want to add some insurance value to it? And then that means if it gets totaled, I'm covered, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, man.
So, Jay, you're an animal lover, right?
I am.
I know you are. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm asking you rhetorically because it's
you know I am.
It's for our audience.
Yes.
So while we pull into the truck center, and I had it towed 100 miles, dropped it off, and
tell everyone how much the tow bill was, by the way. 100 miles.
$3,100.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You need to be aware of these things, man.
Yeah, it's because that's not a flat. Pull your car up on. That is a. They're made to tow.
Yeah.
Semis.
Yeah.
Okay. So, side shot it's 95 degrees out. It's Oklahoma City in the middle of summer. And side shot's not Mr. I'm going to go outside and play for 8 hours in the sun. Okay? That's just not his thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm inside, 45 minutes goes by. I don't see him. I know he's around. He's probably looking at the rigs or something on the lot. There's other RVs on the lot. And then he comes in and he's like, do we got any extra dog food? And I'm like, yeah, I don't even think you know this, Jay. And
you haven't told me.
And I'm like, yeah. So what I did was I unhooked the FJ and just packed the family and Lucky into the FJ and drove 400 miles to my sister's house and spent the Independence Day holiday with them. Tried to salvage our vacation trip. So, I'm like, yeah, it's some in the back. You can have some of Lucky's food. And then, another 30, 45 minutes comes by. And I go outside, and he is sitting on the ground on the pavement with a stray dog that he comes in and he asks the service writer, he's like, does this belong to somebody here? And he's like, no, it's just out there. And he goes, in fact, he doesn't come up to anybody. You got him to come up to you? And he was like, yeah. So had named this dog, called him Butterscotch.
That's awesome.
And we've got pictures of him petting the dog. The dog met Lucky. The dog let us pet it. And then, like a river, we had to leave. And I had to say, son, we can't fit the dog in the truck.
Oh.
So we're all bawling. We're crying. This dog is homeless. And, he was a sweet little dog. And I was looking for a picture here. I don't have it. But
Right.
But the conversation has come up that when we go back, he's asked me to call and see if this dog. It looks like a mix between like a lab and a golden retriever and maybe something else.
Puppy, you think? Or
Yeah, we think it's about a year old.
about a year old. Yeah, that's still a kid. Yeah.
And he's like, "Can we save him?" And I gotta say, like, it was a reminder to me of just what a good person I'm trying to, he's going to be all right.
Yeah. When you
If
have,
I get hit by a truck tomorrow, he'd be all right. But so now there's this family conversation of, we're going to bring this other dog home when, we go pick up the RV if he's still there. And what's that going to be like? And, he's probably been wild from the beginning. So trying to domesticate a dog that's been outside for a year could be tricky.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, everybody. The only way I'm going to be able to tell you what happens to young Butterscotch is if you stay subscribed. I mean, who cares about whether I get my RV back or not?
Right.
If the dog finds a
the
home.
RV, man. Yeah. Let's get that dog a home. Yeah.
So there could be some additional good things out of this. And look, when the RV does get repaired, I have no doubt it's going to be great for years to come. So that's just had to take the hit up front.
Yeah. You found the problem. The problem was a big deal, but now you've got updated stuff going on this thing, fresh. You should be able to get that 1,000,000 miles out of it if you take care of it. So that's good. And you were pulling on my heartstrings here, man, with the dog, and I knew when you started mentioning that was where that was going because Side Shot's a good guy, and I know he loves his animals.
It was brutal.
Oh, I bet.
Looking at the two of them and having to tell them, we have to go. And it wasn't even like I could have been persuaded if we had the room, but I was like the only grown-up rational person left in the room, and I just had to say, there's no room right now.
What do you think he'll still be there? It's hard to say, isn't it?
I kind of hope he is. I mean, who knows?
Have you called out there to talk to him and see if the dog's still hanging around?
No, because I don't want to get his hopes up. Because here's what could happen.
Right.
I could call today. He could be there. But a week from now, if they call me and the RV's done, he could be gone.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of waiting, intentionally.
Right on. I see. Guys, what a great story. Unfortunately, it comes at a huge expense to Keith and family. But we're going to keep you up to speed on how the final outcome of this. And I personally am hoping that in a few months, Keith and I will be potentially podcasting from said motorhome, and we'll see what happens with that. But once again, thank you for joining us today, and thank our brand partners, raceramps.com as well as blackwidowpro.com, for partnering up with us to help us stay on air. We really appreciate that, and please, you guys help us stay on air by buying some of that stuff, and we'll leave some links and coupon codes down in the description for you to have fun all over those websites. So,
I just had a realization, Jay. We kind of ended the 3-part trilogy on a cliffhanger.
I know we did.
I don't know that was by design, everybody. But
Wait till next season, guys.
I mean, sorry. That's just kind of how it worked out.
It's all good. But, you know, we're hoping that there's going to be a happy ending, and I think by all accounts it will be. So there you go.
You know, definitely get an RV inspector. Obviously, if it's a towable, it's less of an issue because an RV inspector is going to be able to find those. If it's a drivable like a Class A or a Class C or even a Class B, although Class B is going to be either a Mercedes or a Ford or a Ram, and it's way easier to get those worked on. Just consider the age, man. I mean, that's the one thing that, you know, diesels, yes, they have the reputation of being able to run a very long time, and they do, and that's true, but there is a cost associated with age. I think that's the biggest lesson.
Yeah, and just remember, too, if it's not being used all the time, it's going to sit, and if someone is not doing their due diligence, like he said, then you run into these sorts of things. So there you go. I got a strange feeling. You got a good one to take us out on? Yeah,
today? It's kind of weird, man, because I picked it days ago. And it was after we had a conversation. I don't even remember about what, but it's that word that you learn, Jay, and then you start hearing it everywhere. Yeah. And so
phenomenon.
I guess it's because it was in my head and I started bringing elements of that into conversations. So I guess it's kind of my fault for leading it, but I don't know. So here it is. Before I get to it, everybody, thank you for making us a part of your lives. We really appreciate it. Remember, subscribe and tell a friend. Leave us a good review on the podcast platform of your choice. That would help a ton also. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
In the words of Winston Churchill, you know, the guy that smoked a lot of cigars from
Drank some beer.
Yeah. I think it might have been scotch, but yeah. I mean, I don't know.
He drank beer too, but he drank scotch. Yeah, he drank a lot of scotch. Yeah.
Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts.
Indeed it is, sir.
All right. From my pal Jay over there, I'm Keith. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next one.